Howdy guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Makayla and today we are going to talk about the 19 books that I purchased within the past month. So we got a lot to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. We will start out with the one book that I don't actually own, and that is because it was a pre-order. So I did pre-order Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. This is the third book in the Empyrean series. It releases next week, and I pre-ordered the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, and I'll be picking it up at the midnight release party that my Barnes is doing. And I'm so excited for that book. Honestly, Fourth Wing is one of the books that has just stuck with me so much since I began reading. I don't know why. I've read so many great fantasy books, but nothing has really stuck with me as much as Fourth Wing, other than like Throne of Glass, but that's just kind of on its own pedestal, in its own category. But like your average fantasy books, nothing has stuck with me as much as Fourth Wing. So really excited for that. I will stop yapping. That is the one book that I don't own, but I did purchase 18 physical books within the past month. So let's get into it. First up, I did actually purchase 4 classics because I do want to do a reading video where I read this classical literature. I'm going to be honest, in high school I did take AP English and stuff, and all of those classic books that I had to read, I spark noted every single one of them. So I didn't actually read a lot of the classics, and I really didn't get into reading until like 2 years ago. So high school me didn't really like reading, but now I do want to go back and start reading that classical discourse and start analyzing it. I want to annotate them, and I think it's just going to be a lot of fun. So I picked out some ones that I think personally just interested me in what they were talking about. I will probably go through classics slowly, but these are just the 4 that I picked out, especially for the video that I'm wanting to film. So we're going to jump right into it. The first one is Crime and Punishment. I don't know how to say the author's name. It is a translation. I can't remember what it was from. I believe maybe French. I don't remember what it's a translation from. But what you're following is a murder story told from the murderer's point of view, which I think is such an interesting take. It's not something you see very often. I love kind of murder, true crime, murder stories, so I think this is going to be right up my alley. I've also seen a lot of great things on TikTok, rest in peace, about Crime and Punishment. So I'm really excited to get into this one, and it's just such a unique premise. I've also not read many translation books of books that have been translated from other languages. That's kind of a goal that I have, is that I want to start diving into some books that have been translated just from other cultures, and I think this is a good start. Next up, I have The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I think this book is just important to read. Whatever you think about the times going on right now, I do want to read this. It's a story of a dystopian society where women are completely controlled and all of that type of stuff. And I think it's a beautiful thing to read, especially just opening your eyes to some situations of things that maybe could happen in the future. So really excited to get to this. It is obviously very popular, and it's been talked about a lot in recent years, recent society. So I do want to read this and just have that knowledge of what this book is. The next one was actually one that I hadn't seen anywhere. I just found it when I was just strolling around Barnes & Noble just looking at random books. That is The Last Man by Mary Shelley. This is a rediscovered classic. It's telling the story of the last man in an apocalyptic society. It's set in 2073. It's about the world ended and there's only one man left, and it's that story. I love like post-apocalyptic books and stuff like that, so I think this is going to be right up my alley, and I had never seen anyone talk about it before, so I'm really excited to maybe really like it and recommend it to people. But I really liked this, and I'm excited, and this was just one that I found like walking around, which is such a fun thing to do. That is also one of the reasons I buy so many books, is because I just love walking around bookstores and looking around, reading all the covers of books that I've never heard of before, and yeah. That is just another one of my hobbies, and that is how I found this book, and I'm really excited for this one. I'm going to stop saying I'm excited, I promise. Moving on to the 4th and final classic book I got, and that is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is a shorter one, but it's a story of a man who's getting his picture painted by an artist, and then he tells the story of his life, and that's kind of what this whole book is about. This one also went pretty popular on TikTok, so really excited. Stop saying it, Makayla. I am looking forward to being able to read this one and see what everyone is talking about. Those are the 4 classics that I picked up. I do want to annotate these, just talk about them, so I will be making a whole dedicated video to reading these, and I'm really excited. I might spread out reading them, so I think that reading vlog might be filmed over a quite substantial amount of time, because I feel like reading 4 back-to-back classics could burn me out. I don't know, we shall see. And some of them are on the thicker side. 2 of them are really on the thicker side, so we shall see. But I am excited to explore the classical literature genre and maybe start just learning more, diving into that type of stuff. Starting out with the book that I read immediately after I purchased it, and that was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This book was sold out at my Barnes & Noble for so long, and it finally came back in stock, purchased it, and read it immediately. So if you don't know what this is about, you're following the story of a man who wakes up in space, all alone, with no idea who he is, why he's there. And it's the story of him figuring out, why am I in space? Why are my crewmates dead? What is my mission? And all of that type of stuff. And it's so amazing. Even if you don't like the science fiction genre, I think you might really like this. The writing was just so easy to follow along with. There's some really lovable characters in this book, and I just fell in love with the writing style and just this genre. I do want to read some of his other books because of this. I want to read like The Martian and stuff like that. So really excited that I found this author, and maybe this has convinced me to buy maybe some more science fiction genre books, because it's not something that I dabble in a lot, but I did really enjoy this, and I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars, so I highly recommend trying this one out. It's popular for a reason, it's well loved by a lot of people for a reason, and I think there's something in it for everyone. So if you do not have it yet or have not tried it, give it a try. So just go do that. Next up, I picked up this book on a whim at Half Price Books, and that is Everyone is Watching by Heather Gutenkopf. So this one, you are following the story of this elusive reality show where 5 contestants get chosen. It's like a $10 million prize, and they're playing like all these super extreme challenges, and all of them are being live streamed. But there's something a little fishy going on, and each of the characters has a secret, and it is really good if you like Big Brother or Survivor, the 2 reality shows, like actual reality TV shows. These give good vibes for that. It was a little like thriller. Read it in my 24-hour reading vlog. Absolutely loved it. So I think I gave this one 4? I don't remember. But I know I gave it either like a 3.5 or a 4 star. So I would recommend this one also. Like I said, if you like Big Brother or Survivor, this gives those vibes. And I did enjoy it, and it was just one I picked up off of a whim, and I'm really glad I did. The next book that I bought and also read pretty much immediately was Vicious by V.E. Schwab. This book, you're following a morally gray main character where him and his college roommate are investigating this phenomena called extraordinary people, where they gain like special powers, and they figure out how you get those powers, and they both like perform those acts, and then they both kind of turn morally gray and they turn against each other. It's kind of their rivalry and them like hunting each other down. Such good high stakes, and it was also interesting of both characters were morally gray, so it was like, who do I root for? Like, what side am I actually going for? And I really enjoyed it. Books where the main character is not meant to be likable is kind of hit or miss for me. I don't really like books where main characters are unlikable, but I did actually really enjoy this book. I enjoyed the morally gray aspect of this character, and I can't wait to read the second book. That brings me into talking about the second book. I did purchase Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. This is the sequel to Vicious. I have not read it yet. It's not like, you don't really get left off on a cliffhanger here. This one you pick up like in the same world, kind of picking up on the story, but it's not like an immediate, oh my god, I needed to read this immediately after. So this one I'm excited to jump into maybe pretty soon in the future. We shall see. I'm kind of just mood reading right now, so I'm trying to figure out when I'm gonna throw this in, but I did purchase this series. This is also a very popular, well-known series, so I was excited to pick those up, and I think the spines are also just really satisfying next to each other. I love series where they're just like simple spines, but they like all match. Chef's kiss. Okay, moving on. Another book I picked up, this was actually during the Barnes & Noble like post-Christmas sale where they were doing a third off of all hardcovers. I had never heard of this book before. I had just walked into Barnes & Noble, looked at like the hardcover shelf, and I saw this cover. I absolutely fell in love with the cover. It is The Turn Glass by Gareth Rubin. It's actually what's known as like a flip book. So half of the book, you read it facing this way. Once you're halfway through, you actually flip the book over and read it the other way. And this one is kind of like a murder mystery told from like 2 different point of views. on the flip book, and I think that is so interesting, such an interesting premise. I have actually never physically seen one of the flip books. I saw some videos on TikTok about some, and I'm so excited. I'm going to do a whole reading vlog when I actually read this because it's such an interesting idea and premise. I've never heard of anyone talking about this book before, so I do want to read this within the immediate future. It's kind of on my high priority TBR, and super excited for this. And also just the cover is so stunning. Anyways, this is another book that I picked up. My dog is passed out behind me. Just thought you guys should know. Also, how do we like this kind of like nighttime setup? I have like my ring light right here, and is it more atmospheric? I don't know. You guys tell me. Do you like me filming when it's like bright during the day, or you kind of like this like moody atmospheric? I'm trying to find kind of like a filming style. I don't know. Comment down below. Next up, the next 3 books that I bought are in a series. I didn't actually plan on buying this series, but I was at Half Price Books and they had the full series, full set, like brand new, and each one was only $5. And so I decided to pick it up because I knew I wanted to read it at some point. That is the Shadow and Bone trilogy. So it's by Leigh Bardugo. It is in the same world as Six of Crows. I've also seen people say that you should read Shadow and Bone series before Six of Crows, which is why I wanted to pick them up. And I feel like I couldn't beat the deal of these brand new covers for $5 each, and they're literally brand new condition. So I ended up picking up this series. I do want to read this pretty soon because I do want to read Six of Crows soon, but I'm a little scared to start a full series like this right now. It will be interesting to see when I get to it. I'm kind of a person that when I start a series, I like to read all of it. I'm not one that likes to split up a series, especially if they're like books that go back to back. So we shall see. I feel like I might get hooked when I start these and then want to read all the way through and then read Six of Crows, and then I don't know what the second book to Six of Crows is. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we're just going to move on. I will get to these in some immediate future. I picked up 2 books that are actually by the same author. They have been on my radar for a long time. I've actually never read a book by her yet, and I'm really excited to actually read her books. So that is R.F. Kuang. I got The Poppy War and Babel. They're both very well loved in their own regard. This is a Dark Academia set book, and this is a military fantasy. I think I really, really love fantasy series. I think I've kind of narrowed down that fantasy. I think is one of my favorite, if not my favorite genre. And this one, I've heard such great things about. Just the main character is so amazing, and that the storytelling is beautiful. So I'm really, really wanting to get to this series soon. Again, I'm just scared to start this big of a series. All of the books are pretty thick. I only have the first one right now. I wanted to wait and buy the rest of the series until I read the first one, just in the some odd event that I don't like the book. So I did not buy the rest of the series. I only bought the first book, but I have high hopes because I really do love fantasy, and I think that could do it for me. So we will see. And then also Babel. Dark Academia is something that I'm still trying to get into. I've only dabbled into it. I'm actually reading The Secret History right now, which is a very popular Dark Academia book. I am really liking it, so I have high hopes for Babel. I think it could be a really good one. This is a little bit of a thicker book, so maybe I will entrust the audiobook to help me out with that one. I do love to like throw in some audiobooks in there to help me get through some of the thicker books. So we shall see. Really excited to try out R.F. Kuang. I have not read any of her books yet, so I think I could really love her. And she has a new book that she just announced is coming out, I believe this year in 2025. So I want to read some of her books before that new one comes out. Okay. We are nearing kind of the end of the stack, I promise. Moving on, we have Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. I picked this up when I went to the Blush bookstore in Dallas, which is the romance-only bookstore that is in Dallas that just opened a few months ago. I could not figure out what I wanted to read when I went there. It was right after the holidays, and a lot of the actual romance section was kind of sold out, so I really just could not figure out what I wanted to read. I was getting intimidated. There was a lot of people in there, and I kind of panicked, and I knew that I wanted to get Crescent City because I've read ACOTAR, I've read Throne of Glass. I loved both of those series, and I do want to read Crescent City. I'm a little nervous. Obviously, Crescent City is the most mixed reviews, I feel like, out of the 3 series. But I think it has the possibility to be really good for me because I do love a murder mystery, and this one has like a murder mystery aspect from what I read on the back. I could be completely wrong, and we shall see. I'm going in with an open mind. This one's going to be a commitment. I'm going to be very mad. I don't want to buy a mixed like type series, so I kind of want to wait until the third book comes out in paperback before I jump into this series, because I know if I start reading this series, I'm going to want to keep reading it, and the third book is only out in hardcover, and I don't want to mix. The second book is in paperback, so I could do that, but if I get to the third book and it's in hardcover, what am I going to do? I don't know. I guess I could see if I could borrow it from someone. That could be a better option. I don't know. We will get to that when we get to it, but this was also a purchase. This was kind of an impulse purchase because I didn't know what else I wanted to get. Moving on. This one. This is a very well-loved series, very popular, which makes it scary for me. So that is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I actually bought this because I'm going to be filming a video next week of reading like my favorite booktubers' favorite books, and this is obviously one of my favorite booktubers' favorite books. It is Destiny Sidwell's like favorite series, and I did want to pick this up. I know it's on Kindle Unlimited, but the physical books are just really satisfying. Like the floppiness, they got it right, and I just kind of wanted to pick up the physical book for it and try it out. If I don't like it, I just won't buy the rest of the series, but I did get the first one, and we're gonna try it out. I'm actually really excited because from what I've read of, like, heard the discourse about the series, I think I can really like it. I think it has the chance to be a really good series for me. Yeah. We are down to our final 2 books, and it is a series again. So I bought the first 2 books in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I'm in the same boat that I was in for Crescent City, where the third book is only in hardcover. I think the paperback, I looked it up, I think it comes out in April. So it comes out earlier in the year, so I definitely want to get to this. I absolutely loved the Caraval series. It is still one of my favorite series that I've ever read. So I want to jump back into this world with Once Upon a Broken Heart. It follows Jax, which is one of the characters that was introduced to us in Caraval. And I am just so excited to get back into Stephanie Garber's writing, her world building, and just this world in general. I think it's going to be so amazing. But I only bought the first 2 books. It was a buy one, get one half off sale at like Target. That's why I ended up buying them both at once. But I don't want to buy the third one until it's paperback, because I hate having mismatched series. If they're all hardcovers, that's different. I'll buy all hardcovers. But most of them, like older series, have been released in paperback for the first few books already. And then the most recent are obviously in hardcovers. And I hate mixing like series up. If it's just like standalones, like my Emily Henry's, like some of her older books I have in paperback, but like Happy Place and Funny Story I have in hardcover because I bought them when they first came out. So that's different. But if it's an actual series, I hate when they're mismatched. Like, my Lightlark and Nightbane, like, I bought Lightlark when it was a paperback, but these 2 are hardcovers. I absolutely despise it. But I will stop yapping about that. Let me know, actually, if you're the same way, because I feel like we should protest for more authors to just release paperbacks right when they get released. Okay, I'm gonna stop yapping. Okay, that was the 19 books that I've purchased within the past month. My bank account hates me, but my reading self loves me because I absolutely love books. They bring me so much joy. I cannot express that enough. Like, reading is my favorite hobby. I have a lot more pastime. This semester especially, I'm only taking 11 hours, which is not even technically full time, and a lot of my classes are a lot on the easier side. Wine tasting is one of my classes, so I have a lot lighter of a schedule just because I'm just finishing out my remaining classes in my degree plan, and me and my boyfriend are long distance. He graduated last semester, so I have a lot more time on my hands, and I'm going to be reading a lot. So I did pick up books that I know I'm going to read, and I promise you I will probably read every single one of these by like June or July. I can promise you that. So do not fret that I've bought this many books, because I've already read 4 out of the ones that I purchased out of the 19. I will be reading Onyx Storm when it gets released, when I get that book in my hands. But I'm super excited for all of these books. I can't express that enough. And I made a mess, so I need to clean all this up, put them all back. But thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if any of these books are on your TBR, what books you've been purchasing recently. We'll just have a grand old time. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!